wanna shoot, baby.
The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I remember when this game first came out. It was the first time I'd ever looked at a game and said, you know what, that's not going to be fun. He looks weird, there's no guns, there seems to be a lot of hype with it, but that game is something I will never enjoy. But Steam had a different plan for me, because it would not stop recommending it.
Players that like this game also like The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Some dude on your friends list now owns The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Games recommended to you The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. It looks like that dude on your friends list is having a lot of fun playing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt based off all these achievements he's getting. I wonder if you would like it too. Thanks for opening up Steam today. Guess what's recommended to you? The Witcher Wild Hunt. 70% off.
Why the heck, why not? I'll give it a shot.
You smell wonderful.
Geralt, we're at a funeral.
You smell wonderful at this funeral.
I rode my bike 2 miles to the local CVS, and I bought a $20 Steam gift card using tips I saved up from loading people's cars with mulch. I did not have a lot of money at the time, so buying a game was a commitment to playing it, and I did not enjoy playing it in the slightest. Not a wee little bit. Not even a crumb. My horse is stupid. I keep dying.
You must weaken.
Care to trade places? Find something else to laugh at. I don't know. Catch some frogs and shove straws up their asses.
That one of your Witcher games?
Witcher version's different. Don't make me show you.
Not your lucky day.
Combat feels more like I'm pressing a button and Geralt is doing an action versus me actually controlling him. The sun is gorgeous, but why is it so freaking bright? The story also made no sense to me.
Damn, I tore a hole in my dress.
Who the heck is Yennefer? I mean, my mom's name is Jennifer, so I mean, I guess she's kind of like my mom, but oh my.
I missed you too.
I wanted to quit. This game did not leave me wanting more. But you see, I just couldn't drop the game. I spent money on it. You know, you don't get tips very often at a hardware store, so if I spent that money on a game, I better get my worth out of that game. So here was my dilemma. On one hand, I didn't understand the story, I didn't like the controls, and I wasn't really having fun. But on the other side of things, I paid money for this game, and it was recommended to me from everywhere. So there's gotta be something in this game that's worth it, right? I was desperate, so I turned to Reddit, and lo and behold, the Reddit gods shined upon me that day, for I found a post of a gentleman that had a similar problem. One of the top comments read, "I feel you, good sir, but if I may advise, you must play the game for 4 hours before quitting for good. No texting friends, no music, just you and the game. If you dislike it after that, you may quit. And if you dislike it after that, I will kill you because I enjoy this game and you should suck major." This idea piqued my interest and I took it as a personal challenge. After the first hour. After playing the game for 1 hour, I felt like the horse was fighting me. It just sucked. The horse sucks. I don't like it. After the second hour, I was ready to be done. I wanted to play a game with guns. I wanted to play a game that I understood. After the third hour. Honestly, this challenge isn't too hard, but I should watch out for that griffin. After the fourth hour. I'm in love with this game. I kid you not, everything I'm telling you here is true. I fell in love with The Witcher 3 that day. I just had to focus on it and give it time to give it a real chance. From those 4 hours on, everything just clicked. The overall story was like a puzzle that only revealed itself one piece at a time. Eventually, you become very invested in the overall picture. It's just hard to see what that overall picture is in the beginning.
Wolves asleep amidst the trees, bats all a-swaying in the breeze. But one soul lies anxious, wide awake, fearing all manner of ghouls, hags, and wraiths.
After those 4 hours, I was Geralt of Rivia, the monster hunter.
You can come out. I've seen your plan. Besides, I can hear you. One of you's wheezing like a broken bellows. Another's panting frantically like a deer caught in a trap.
I would travel around on my horse, going from board to board, accepting contracts on beasts no ordinary human could kill. There are always people that need help, and you are always in need of coin. I'm gonna talk about a couple of them, because this is freaking awesome, and I kind of geek out about this stuff. Night Race. These dudes are tricky. Halfway between the realms of the living and the dead, when you try to hit them with your sword, it just passes right through them. However, after finding a moon dust bomb, I was able to prevent the beast from transforming and keep it in this realm just long enough to tear it to shreds. So awesome. These dudes here, these are harpies. They drove me crazy for a long time. They'd swoop down, strike you, and then fly away. You never had an opportunity to kill one. Once I finally got one that was brave enough to stay on the ground for a while, I got an entry in my bestiary. Once any creature is killed, you get an entry in the bestiary. From here I learned its weakness, Axie. Casting the simple sign would make it fall from the sky and leave it exposed for a well-placed gut shot with your sword. That thing right there, that's Forktail. The weaker, dumber cousin of dragons. But that doesn't mean they don't pack a punch, because they pack a punch. Anytime I knew I was going to be fighting one of these, I always drank a wraith decoction. I can't say words very well. Decoction, I think. Decoction. This is how you're supposed to say it. I always drank a wraith
decoction.
This made it so every time the beast struck you and took away more than a third of your health, it created a protective shield around you that would absorb the next hit. This effectively made it so I could last twice as long in the fight. But Nathan, why the heck are you allowing yourself to get hit? See, the thing is, I wouldn't try to get hit, but to kill these guys, you need to get very close, roll behind them, and strike their backside. They don't particularly like being hit in their backside, so they kind of swing your tail at you, which throws you backwards and deals a massive amount of damage. Killing my first one of these was such an accomplishment, and I loved it. I totally felt like a Witcher. But my absolute favorite creature to fight isn't really a creature.
What the butch?
What was that?
I'm here.
I freaking love fighting vampires. Lesser vampires, higher vampires, I don't give a crap, I love fighting them. These dudes will kill you. You only fight them if you're high enough level. You only fight them if you're prepared. This means vampire oil on your sword, drinking black blood potions, and drinking any decoction that you think would give you the slightest edge. A vampire fight is no joke.
You waste my time.
No, wait!
Being a Witcher is hard, but it is so darn rewarding. The skybox is unusually high for a game, but I am not complaining. I love the sense of this world is bigger than you are. The sun, while bright, is gorgeous. The sunsets, I love them. The ambient sound design. Just listen to the sound of Novigrad's docks.
It's a miracle you came back at all. Not all of us did. Pirates.
My ears are having tiny orgasms. Skellige is so darn amazing. They are hands down the best written and the most believable group of people I have ever seen in a game. They're basically Vikings, deeply rooted in tradition. They don't take crap from anybody and are constantly at war with each other. You should not be living on this island. It is not a place for humans, but they're living there and they will not leave, no matter what. I think the word vibe is kind of overplayed, but the vibe, the feelings, the overall atmosphere of the Skellige Isles is so strong and so unique.
What the fuck are you doing? We weren't done conversing.
Call that a conversation?
Not your plowing business. You need a smack us on
The
it.
excellent music throughout the game is a very fantasy bard-like sound. And it's altered just enough in Skellige to add not only wonder, but just a hint of unease. Everything is beautiful. And if you ever get the opportunity to go up a mountain and just look at the landscape, throughout the story you'll be like, oh my gosh, I went there, I went there, I went there. Everywhere you see, you eventually visit. It's such a focused game. They knew exactly what they were doing. If you can't tell, I really like it. To add to this sense of realism, there's an ongoing war with its own politics, and to greatly summarize it, the South has been very successful in invading the North. The North finally has a chance at pushing back, and you're kind of going on both sides of this conflict. Everybody hates Nilfgaard, and they really seem like the bad guys. But the more you progress in the story, the more shady stuff you start seeing from Redania over here. Now, why does this whole conflict matter? It gives the opportunity for some very unique dialogue choices, as The Witcher 3 is a RPG, and all your decisions have a huge impact on the story in a very meaningful way. Let me show you one of these interesting conflicts that you'll encounter early on. This little man here, he's a blacksmith. Ever since the big bad black ones invaded, he's been making them swords and armor. He doesn't want to, but he has to, because they made him. This is a villager. He doesn't like the invading black ones, and when he was drunk, he burned down to the little dwarf's forge. The man burned down the forge because it was making the invaders weapons, but that forge belonged to a man who was forced to make the invaders weapons. Do you turn him in for doing something wrong, or do you let him go free, understanding the context? This is a gray area. There isn't really a right or wrong here. While this decision doesn't impact the story too much, it's a good example for the types of decisions you will be making just on a much greater scale.
Let's take a quick moment and talk about Gwent.
Gwent is the card game of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Everybody around you plays it. And some of them, when you play against them, you'll play for cards. So if they lose, you get their card. There's in-game tournaments. There's murders over cards. Gwent is a fundamental part of The Witcher. If you don't want to play Gwent, you don't have to. There's usually ways around it. Now, my first playthrough, I didn't enjoy it one bit. But on my second playthrough, I was like, you know what? Let me really sit down and give this a chance. And I love it.
Hey, I'm editing, Nate. Hello. So it turns out I spent about 20 minutes explaining to you how Gwent works in The Witcher 3. You don't need to know. All you need to know is that Gwent is like Magic the Gathering, the card game. It's a little bit different, and it's used in The Witcher 3 when enemies come to you and you're like, we want to kill you! And you're like, hey, want to play some cards instead? And they're like, sure, why the heck? We love cards. And then it gives you like more mission opportunities. That's what Gwent is. Have a great day, folks.
Now you got the main quests and you got the Witcher contracts, which are kind of like side quests, but don't get that confused with secondary quests, because in this game, not only is there a main story, not only are there very well written monster contracts, but there is a freaking huge amount of secondary quests, all of them given the same care and attention of the main storyline. I'm talking fist-fighting competitions that take you around the world, racing on just as big of a scale. For goodness sake, there's a quest that has you... I'm not going to tell you because you should play the game. It's so freaking expansive. The last little tab we've got here is treasure hunts. These give you Witcher gear. You'll be fighting plenty of bandits, which will give you armor, but if you want some real master crafted stuff, you're gonna want some Witcher gear. And depending on which school you get that Witcher gear from, you'll have different abilities. Upload this stuff to Grandmaster and you can do this. Upload this stuff to Grandmaster and you can do that. I am simplifying this here, so if you've already played The Witcher 3, you might be like, well, not technically. Just, the game's complex. Just let me simplify it. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is a story-driven game. And once you give it the time and patience it needs to really grab you, you're not gonna wanna let it go. The controls that bothered me in the beginning, now I love. When I do a quest that requires me to take my swords off my back, as soon as I get those swords back on my back, they feel like they belong there. While playing some games on the hardest difficulty is just 100% completionist type thing, just creating challenge for the sake of challenge, The Witcher 3 becomes better the harder it gets. Witchers are supposed to use oils, bombs, decoctions, and potions to get the edge in a fight. And while you can kind of skim by without touching that stuff in normal levels, you have to use it in Deathmarch. This makes you more immersed in potion brewing. It makes you look out for certain ingredients. You prepare for your fight like an actual Witcher should, which makes you more like an actual Witcher. The game further immerses you the harder it gets. You will end up playing so much of this game that you'll have to take a break from it. But as soon as you do, the only thing you'll be able to think about is what's going to happen next? How is my decision going to impact the story? Should I choose to fall in love with Triss or Yennefer? Or should I shoot my shot and go for both? The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is story-driven, and in everything it does, it leaves you wanting more. Welcome back to the outro show. The outro. That's a show. I love you too, good sir. Gotta love those random crowd moments. We like to do two things here. We like to listen to some new music, and we like to read your comments. So without further ado, let's get into it. Today's music of the moment is
Money Machine by 100 gecs. Gecs make music that sounds bad, but in a pleasing way. They tinker with distorted and maxed vocals sounding similar to Injury Reserve and Charlie XCX's How I'm Feeling Now project. I like to describe their style as a house made of garbage, but the garbage is so well utilized that you can't help but feel like it's the most impressive house you've ever seen. Let me know what your thoughts are on the music with #music down in that comment section. And now it's time for the second segment of the show, my personal favorite segment of the show. Does anybody disagree? Is this your favorite part too? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. It's time, everybody, to read your comments. All right, it looks like the first one we got here is from a good Sir Sam Hawkins, and it says, I am a comet. I honestly don't have a whole lot more to say on this one, but thanks for your comment, Sam Hawkins. Appreciate that. Looks like next up we got Darkarian Plana. Simp. No rug dash light. I know what a simp is. I don't know what the rest of that means. In fact, I'm gonna Google that right now. What the heck does that mean? I'm just coming up with flashlight. I honestly don't know what you're trying to say here. But Mr. Darkarian Playa, I appreciate your comment just the same. Next up, we got Hoffy Top. I don't know how I found this channel, but I'm the 180th sub, so let's go. I scrapped 4 videos before this one. I try real hard. So hearing you guys say things like I'm underrated or I'm good at editing, all that is very kind, even if I don't always know how to respond. Very kind of you. Thank you very much, guys. Looks like we got one more comment here. It says, can you pole dance for us?